accredited universities he had taught at. All the while, the worry grew inside me, bubbling underneath the surface. I told myself that this was just Harold being Harold. This was just the sort of thing that he did. After 2 years of searching, I had found nothing. It was an exercise in pure frustration. I spent weeks on the phone with police, with laboratories where he had done research. I spent weekends travelling to see old acquaintances and colleagues, leaning on connections at my legal practice to expedite matters. Urged on by Harriet, I did everything I could to follow the thread of where he might have gone. But there was no thread. No hints, not a single scrap of information. It was as though in the winter of 1990 he had simply vanished into thin air. All I had left were those last 3 letters, now thoroughly dog-eared and coffee-stained. For weeks, Harriet and I pored over them, sitting at the kitchen table late at night and right through to morning. They seemed to make less and less sense with each reading. Years trickled by, and my wife watched on as father and daughter lost hope. In the autumn of 1998, Poppy and I had him declared officially dead. It's funny which memories stick with you. Even now, I can still see myself sitting in the gardens outside the chapel, tangled in thought. The cool chill of the morning pricked my skin, and I pulled my jacket tighter. It was November. I was due to make a speech at Harold's memorial in 2 days, and I still hadn't written anything. I've never been much of an emotional writer. Drafting depositions and legal summonses is far more my cup of tea. But I wanted to get something down to honour him and the memories he had left us with. And yet, every time I put my pen down, my mind would go blank at the glare of the paper. The longer I waited, the more the pages stared back at me, accusatory. The truth is, I never really knew my brother. Apart from the last few years before his disappearance, I barely saw him. He spent his 20s training as a doctor, becoming a surgical consultant by the time he was 30. As such, he was always busy, always sought after. When I did try to get in touch, he'd make excuses and promise he'd visit later. Even when he left medicine, for reasons he never shared with me, he was always elsewhere, investigating rock formations in South America or working on mathematical proofs in India. The life he lived was so far removed from mine, it felt like another world, one that I had never been privy to. He had been an awkward boy, always quiet and contemplative. His early teachers thought that he was mute. His little round face seemed to be perpetually frowning in concentration, as if everything he looked at confused him. My sister and I were convinced there was something broken in his head. We were all wrong. He simply processed the world in a different way to all of us. Where we accepted assumptions, he saw possibilities. Where we felt clarity, he saw uncertainty. And where we were confused, he made strange connections and improbable links. Breaking my chain of thought, Poppy settled down next to me in those gardens. She had a bottle of red and a couple of plastic glasses in her hand. For a while, she didn't say a word. She just sat beside me and stared out at the cemetery where his cenotaph had been placed. "I don't know if I can do this," I whispered to her. "There's nobody else, Ben," she replied, putting a hand on my shoulder. "Nobody knew him. Not really. There's just us. Maybe we should write down the memories of him we do have. The ones we remember clearly, from when he was young and we were growing up." I shrugged. He never really talked to me, Pops. Even when he was visiting Harriet, he was always lost in his own little worlds. I swallowed hard. I think I was too boring for him. She laughed, putting her arm around me. Despite myself, despite the moment, I felt a smile tugging at my lips. "My clearest memory of him," she said, "was at the kitchen table in France when we were on holiday. We must have been, 8 or 9? He can't have been more than 6. In Nice. Yes. It's a small memory, a silly thing. Dad had brought back pastries from the bakery for breakfast, and you and I tore into them, shoving these croissants down our throats, and Harold, he just stared at his. And then he started pulling it apart. Oh, God, yes, I remember now. He didn't eat any of it. No,